TV tonight, and like I promised, I will be now engaging with a conversation with a group of young Kenyans who have been on the streets demonstrating, protesting, pushing against the finance bill and asking the parliamentarians, the members of parliament, to reject the finance bill as is. And of course, we'll be seeking their views to really understand what the message is and really looking at the dynamics, the shift in terms of the dynamics. We've seen these protests majorly led by the Gen Zs and also millennials as well. Allow me to just give them an opportunity to first of all introduce themselves, and I'll begin with you on the right. Maybe just tell us your name and just briefly, what do you do?
My name is Nzolo Mudhama, but people know me as Lexus, L-E-X-A-S, Mshairi. So I'm basically a poet, a digital artist. I'm basically a multidisciplinary artist.
All right, thanks. Next.
Good evening. My name is Gashui Agnes Kariuki. I am a governance consultant, an advocate of the High Court, founder of Ustawi KE, a youth-led accountability community-based organization in Kiambu. Happy to be here.
All right, thank you. Next.
My name is Anita Barasa. I'm a newly found activist, a student, and I'm a co-founder of Wagwa Nairobi, which is a movement for all the youth to join. You can follow us so that we can keep you updated with everything that's going on. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zainab. My name is Oyamo Richard. I am a writer, I am a poet, and above all, especially for today, I'm an activist. And I'm a co-founder of a collective called Rafinki, which is a collective for artists. And part of what we do is to empower them to use their art for activism.
Thank you. Next.
My name is GK Nyambura. I am a lawyer and accountant, as well as a student at the advocacy training program in the Kenya School of Law.
All right, thank you. You can also tell us.
Oh, hi, my name is Amy. I'm a content creator and a student, and yeah, a newly found activist. And a part of Wagwa Nairobi as well.
Wagwa Nairobi.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for joining us. And also, just shortly, we'll also be joined by Jim India, who will be also giving us, his brief introduction as well. But let me begin with you, Nzolo. I mean, when you're looking at the protests on Tuesday, when you're looking at the protests today, it's a departure from the normal, the anti-government protests that we've seen, very largely driven by the Gen Zs. And of course, young people came out in droves, thousands, and it didn't just happen in Nairobi, it happened across the country. So on Tuesday, we saw, the young people come out just from Nairobi, but then today, I mean, that completely was an uprising. Just tell us what the message was, and did it achieve what it intended to?
I believe it is on its way to achieving that. And of course, I feel like we have grown up in a society where we were supposed to go to study well to get to probably a good high school, and then probably get from a good high school and get to a good campus. And then the idea is once you are done with campus, you're going to get a good job. And so we spend our lives chasing this dream, and leaders promise us, heaven. They tell us these things are going to happen when you get there. And then we get there and wow, to a surprise, we're graduates, we are even shortlisted on CRP, we have no hope. Like guys are thinking even about leaving the country. They want to go and find jobs outside the country because nothing is given,
right?
As we say,
it's not giving. It's not giving, right?
So.
Gashuhi, a departure from the norm. Looking at the shift in terms of really, there are comments that young people, Gen Zs, don't really have an interest in the governance space in the country. They don't watch news. They don't want to know what is happening in the political space. But this appeared to be different.
Exactly, and as I've said previously on this very platform, I had a struggle from around 2020 when we were trying to engage Gen Zs and other young people to be a bit more active in matters, politics and governance. It was crazy. I remember we were trying to encourage them to register with the IEBC, to be voters, actively trying to engage them to probably join political parties, actively trying to engage them to, try and be involved in matters, public participation, which is a very key part of this conversation we're having today. And initially, they were apathetic to these issues, to these conversations, to this space. And the build-up has been coming very well. And the role of social media and the internet has been very critical over time in ensuring that young people, and especially Gen Zs, are a lot more engaged, which is wonderful. I love it. I'm very happy to see this so far.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And Anita, your video went viral. You said, Agwambo, sit back. We got this. So, I mean, I think you're actually the youngest in this group. You're just 17. Where did this come from?
Okay, growing up, I've always had my dad as an inspiration because he was also an activist when he was younger. Personally, actually, I never thought I'd do this, to be honest. I just woke up and I was like, okay, I can't sit back and we're about to, you know, lose our future to people we elected, you know? So I had to stand up and like do something. Thank God it went viral. And Raila, His Excellency, Honorable Raila, he responded to me. And that gave me a lot of traffic, and like he gave me a platform to like voice my concerns, or rather our concerns as youth. And like, yeah, now we're here.
All right. Oyamo, this wasn't just about the finance bill. I mean, when you speak to the young people who came out in droves, and even what Nzolo is talking about, it's not just about the finance bill. There's so many aspects as to why young people decide to come out and speak to the information that is already out there and their involvement and inclusion in these conversations as well.
Yeah, sure. I'll answer that I'll begin by paraphrasing what Paul Vita says in his book, Fathers of a Nation. And he says that when we gain independence, they promised us to eradicate three things: ignorance, and diseases, and poverty. But now, probably 60-something years later, have they eradicated any of them? No. Instead, they have added one more: corruption. And that's what drives us more than even the finance bill. Our problem is we are not seeing what the resources we already have is doing to us. They are not using it correctly. They are misspending it. People are taking it into their pockets. And for a long time, we have been thinking our parents will solve that, but it turns out they can't. So I've decided to take the mantle.
Right.
Yeah.
And GK, your drive, where does it come from when you decided to? Were you there on Tuesday?
Yes.
So you went there on Tuesday, you woke up early in the morning, you were here, even today. Where did this come from, personally, from your angle?
My angle is that throughout my life, I've heard and I've been listening to the rest of the people around me, the older guys, our parents, my aunties, my uncles. Everyone has basically been complaining about the government since time immemorial. And I think I remember in the 2007 general election, a lot of murders happened. So many people died, and I think that instilled some fear. And so the past generations, so I'll start with like the baby boomers, their parents they went through colonialism directly. Like they were, what am I saying? They were actually, like they were directly affected by colonialism. And so their children, who are our parents, they grew fear. They were fearful of what would happen if they stood up to a government, so they just kept quiet. And then the next generation came up where the kind of like noise came from. They started murmuring about like, hey, that's a bit unfair. I don't like that. We don't want that. And then now by the time we were coming, it's basically neo-colonialism all over again, because it feels like we're being colonized again. So someone had to do something.
So you've listened and you've heard and you've witnessed all these conversations, and you felt, you know what, it's time we spoke.
Yeah.
All right.
It's time we did something. We've been speaking. Yeah.
So we must do something.
We must do something.
All right. And Amy, just very quickly as well, before we listen to what the government has said with regard to this whole thing, do you think the message is giving?
Yes, I think the message is giving, for it's created so much empowerment. Considering the numbers that were there on Tuesday to the numbers that have been there today, it's a message to everyone that we're not here to play. We want a good life for ourselves. So, yeah, and our future kids and families and for our small siblings also. So yes, it's giving severely.
All right, and we'll continue with that conversation. But before that, Tourism Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua has reiterated that the youth who are demonstrating against the finance bill are being used by activists who are broke and looking for funding. Let's just listen to him.
So young people, if the police tell you enda hivi, enda hivi, enda hivi, enda hivi, do not be lured into violence. The activists using you, wacha niwaibie siri, the activists that are using you, wamesota. Let me tell you, Nikubaya, since Ruto took over, he is a darling of the international community. Our president is loved by the international community. He is the #1 Democrat, peacekeeper in the region. He is working for the economy, climate change, hiyo Kenya imeenda mbele. Ruto is loved so much. So these people, wakienda kuandika hizi statements, wanaandika proposals, walipo ati Kenya ni kubaya, wanaambiwa no. We have come to Kenya, IMF, World Bank, wamesema Kenya iko sawa, Kenya is doing very well. Why would we fund you and there's no problem in Kenya? Wamesota. You know, they are doing badly because that is their industry. So what they are doing, they are trying to cause some fracas, trying to organize innocent youth by misleading you so that waonyeshane kuna violence kidogo, ndio wapate sympathy, ndio wapate pesa ya mfuko yao, ya bibi yao, si yako, yao na bibi yao, na girlfriend zao, na watoto wao, na watu wengine wao. That's what they are doing, these people. Wamekwama kabisa.
All right, so those are the views of the Tourism Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua, and I'm going to throw the ball to you guys to just respond to that, statement that was made. Jim, thanks also for joining us on this conversation. As you get, your opening remarks as well, I want to understand from your perspective, what do you think the message was sent on Tuesday, on Thursday, and also getting your thoughts on those statements?
Thanks, Zina. So I think for a while we have been very clear that Article 1 says that all power belongs to the people, but for a long time we never exercised that article.
All right, Jim, so what I'm going to do is we're going to fix that mic. Apologies for that, but we're going to come back to you. But let me throw it. Let me start with GK. So you've heard what Dr. Alfred Mutua had to say, and, that this was sponsored by people who probably are looking for money. I don't know your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's a little insulting that you would think that we would never be smart enough to think this by ourselves. I personally I was not incited by anyone. I showed up on Tuesday. We were a lot less than we were today. And we were being chased, and it's okay, but we would come back and be like, this and that is what we want, and we need this to be done and corrected and fixed. Mm-hmm. So it's a little, I don't know, and it's distasteful to think that we can't think that for ourselves. We really did. This is my personal initiative. I'm fighting for a cause. To disrespect my cause and think that I'm being paid, I don't even know how I'm going home. Listen, I only have lip gloss and a mask. Like, what is that?
Zola, let me hear from you. Your thoughts on those statements. Largely, we've seen that these protests were organic. Really, we've not seen any political influence, but insinuating that perhaps they were sponsored by broke people.
Oh my goodness. We are struggling to even survive. So, missing a kazi. So I just wake up in the morning, I'm like, people are fighting for rights. Why should I be in the house? I have no job. So why should I not just get out of the house and go and fight for what I believe in? And these are things that affect me as a person. We are learned, yes, but there is no point to the education if there are no systems in place for us to thrive and grow to. So then we go to digital content creation, and then they want to tax that too. Will I sit back and my only source of livelihood is that, and then wait for them to pass the bill?
Right. Gashuhi?
If at all there is an inspiration to this or an incentive, it's probably birthright and sovereignty, which these young people, Gen Zs, have been able to determine, this is what is happening, this is where our country is headed. We can see to a certain extent, seemingly our country is going to be leased out to some foreign powers, and we're not going to agree to that. So ultimately, I do not believe, and I reject the statements by Alfred Mutua that these protests were in fact inspired or endorsed by some powers out there.
All right.
They were not. These were sporadic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anita?
Personally, first of all, dear Cabinet Secretary, please, if you have intel and whoever is paying these people, we need the payment, okay? Like, please, like, personally, sijalipwa, I came out here because I'm bitter, very bitter, because our parents said nothing. Like, they were just, oh, this is quite unfair, as you said. But like, sisi hatutakaa chini. That's a lie. So we stood up, and now you're saying we're getting paid. We are the broke ones. We're the broke ones. Actually, we'd advise you to come out and sponsor us to actually fight for our rights. Because we are fighting for your children. See us as your kids. See me as your daughter. Like, would you want me to be out here saying so proudly at Iniko protest because I don't have a job? Now what am I supposed to do with, oh, I don't have a job? Like, we're supposed to be building each other here. I'm here fighting for the rights of Kenyans, not just me. And as you've heard, I'm the youngest here. Nafaa kwa nyumbani. But like, we're not getting paid. Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say.
All right. And I get back to you, Oyamo, Amy, as well as Jim. But we have to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll continue with this conversation. This is NTV Tonight.
Nyinyi ndio mlikuwa washindi wetu wa shamba ya kwanza.
Ni kweli.
Tumepitia ofisi za Landa ya registrar na this is your official title deed.
Wagoi jiro ndio hiyo. Mimi ndiye nilikuwa mshindi wa shamba moja ya kwanza ya rotomoto huko Mara. Sasa leo nimeitwa hapa wanikabidhi title yangu original. Na ndio hii kabisa.
Christopher?
Yes.
Nyinyi ndio washindi. Washindi wa nini?
Wa samba.
And I'm here to present hiyo.
Sawa.
Sasa hiyo shamba ni yenu official.
Christopher Mudhoya Ntoidhiri. Asante sana. Nimepokea ile kitu ambayo nilikuwa nangojea. Rotomoto ni ya ukweli kabisa.
Kwako wewe bado ushindi huko. 30th of June mwezi huu namtangaza mshindi wa Probox. Cheza Lucky Game.
Cheza Loto Moto. Shinda pesa moto moto.
Nivea Pearl and Beauty Deodorant. The perfect balance of 48-hour protection and care for soft, smooth, and beautiful underarms. Try our new Pearl and Beauty Black Pearl for smooth and perfumed underarms.
People come to me and they say they get discomfort when they have ice cream. Can you imagine that? Avoiding having cold ice cream. Sensodyne gives you long-lasting protections against sensitivity. And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
Everyone can be an expert in his or her field. You can be an expert in all analytics. You know who will be the next star of the season. You can be an expert in all matches. You're an expert in statistics or people's opinions. 1xBet will help you show your expertise. Express yourself. You're the expert.
The Meru National Polytechnic has aimed to be an international center of excellence in technical and vocational education and training, TVETs. We are proud to announce our 5th graduation ceremony that will take place on 21st June from 8:30 a.m. Follow this event live on NTV and on our social media platforms. That is YouTube and Facebook at the Meru National Polytechnic. The Meru National Polytechnic. Technology for innovation and development.
Umecheza Loto Moto na umewasaidia wengi. Unachangia pakubwa na zawadi kibao zinakungoja. Na kukupa ushindi wako ndio raha yetu.
Watende mema.
It's God sent. Thank you so much.
Na sasa kwenye *570# cheza Lucky Game ujipatie entry ticket ya kuingia kwenye draw ya kujishindia moja kati ya magari haya mawili, ikiwa ni Probox nayo na Demio nayo. Tushinde!
Azidi tu kuendelea kumbariki.
Kwenye *570#, wewe si mshindi tu, wewe ni tegemeo kubwa.
All right, thank you for staying with us. This is NTV Tonight as we have a conversation with young people and especially touching on what we've witnessed since Tuesday and today, an escalation of protests led by especially just Gen Zs and millennials talking about the finance bill and also just their space within the democratic and governance structure of the country. And of course, we did see that statement that came from the Tourism Cabinet Secretary, Alfred Mutua, which suddenly has rubbed the wrong way most of the young people who decided to come out today. Jim, if I could get to you, I would like to get your thoughts as well on that particular matter, and also touching on the protests that we saw today. Largely, it was peaceful since the beginning, but then again, what we saw was tear gas canisters and the water cannons that were thwarting and you know, just for the police pushing back the protesters from reaching the National Assembly. I want to get your thoughts on that.
So anyway, Alfred is getting personal, and we can also get personal, and we have for a while gotten personal with him, but we will not on this platform. We will let our good friends who sing out there and have ways of getting personal with him to do that. We have more serious issues to deal with than Alfred. He's not worth our time right now. He's not worth our focus. He's not worth our attention. And so we leave the space to him to do his Cobra Squad things that he's used to doing. We have no time for that. We are clear on what we need as a people, as young people, and that is to reject the finance bill. He's spoken about IMF, for instance. We know that the reason why the Ruto regime is pushing the finance bill is because they need financing from IMF. If there's anyone who claims to be broke, it is the Ruto regime who claim to be broke. And so IMF does this thing where it's conditionality. For them to give you a certain percentage of loan, you need to raise a certain percentage of revenue. And so the revenue that we are collecting is because that is what the IMF has promised Ruto, that if he raises that, then they are going to give him money. So Alfred and his friends in the cabinet plus the president, you're the broke ones. You're the ones who are trying to I'm trying to find the politically correct word for kiss us, right? The IMF, but I don't have it. You're the ones who are trying to do that. The protests today, as we've spoken about, were largely peaceful. The young people showed up, and we have changed the tactic. The police are used to people coming out to riot. We have come out to protest for our lives. We are clear on what we want, and the police today were the ones who are rioting. While we understand that they cordoned off parliament, we don't know why our leaders would be afraid of us. We are the ones who gave them the power. We are the ones who gave them the opportunity to be in that parliament. We delegated our power to them. They are not an absolute power. The parliamentarians are not an absolute power. The president is not an absolute power. The power that they have is donated by we, the sovereign. And so we, the sovereign, today wanted to have conversations with them and tell them what we want. But they refused us access to Bunge precincts. They refused even senators access to Bunge precincts. So we don't know why they are so afraid of us. We don't know why they can't come out with their chests and claim that what they're doing is right. So this is the message to them. We still have 3 stages of this finance bill. We are going to be out on the streets every single day that you're in that precinct. We are going to try our level best to be out of Bunge and have conversations with you. You said you want an open democracy where people can converse with you. Please come. Let us reason together. Listen to us as we have listened to you. Listen to the things that we are saying. And our claim is simple. Reject the finance bill. Not amend, not anything. Reject. And go back to the drawing board. Get the IMF out of the way. Get everyone else out of the way. Write a bill that is pro-people and pro-young people. We are broke. We are jobless, and you want to tax everything in this place, including the periods of my wife, my sister, my mother, everybody else. We can't live in that kind of country.
So you're saying a full rejection of the entire bill and the members of parliament to go back to the drawing table and have it all redone?
That's all. We, the sovereign, that is what we are telling you. We asked you to go to parliament to represent us. This is what we are telling you to represent us in parliament.
All right.
Reject.
Let's hear from Amy.
So, I was paid. I'm still shocked. Today was a long day for me. From Tuesday, I've taken tear gas. Today, head to toe, that tank water, head to toe. So I don't understand how I would be paid and then subject myself to tank water, because there are people who still stayed at the up streets. I went to the front line, and I met, and as far as yesterday, people were DMing and texting, and they're asking, I'd like to come for Mandamano on Thursday, and I'd like to know where we could meet up and maybe go together. So tell me, I'm not the one who texted them first, so how did I end up paying people? In the groups that we made, we had to make WhatsApp groups for those people. In every group, there were more than 500 people. So I don't have anyone's number. There was a link sent. Join the group if you want. So there was no payment done, and if there was payment being done, mungesema mapema. Hey.
Oyamo.
Yes, there's a popular myth about an ostrich. When it's afraid, it buries its head in the ground. And listening to Alfred Mutua, and even yesterday as I was paying attention to the parliamentary proceedings, I think that's what this government is doing. It's burying its head in the ground. It's already afraid. And what you are going to do as the young people, we are going to pull it by the ears, and we are going to make sure that we reject the finance bill. We are saying we are broke, you are saying we paid us. We are broke, that's why we are demonstrating. So we don't know when you're saying we were paid, where is the payment coming from?
All right.
And this is what is making us even more mad and wanting to demonstrate for our rights.
All right.
Yes.
And I want us to listen to this also. So President William Ruto is unmoved by the wave of street protests across the country that entered the 3rd day today. A confident-sounding president called on MPs to pass the controversial finance bill pronto, sentiments echoed by 2 of his cabinet secretaries.
And they will vote yes. They will vote yes, because they have read the bill. The people who are talking, they have not read the bill. These ones, they have read the bill. They even know what is there for Garissa University.
Na ndio mimi nataka niwaambie wabunge wetu wakiwa kule bunge, Tunataka wapitishe pesa ya watoto wa Kenya wasome. Tunataka wapitishe pesa ya barabara zetu, tujenge barabara. Hapa Garissa mnahitaji stima, tumeweka bilioni 2, wapitishe hiyo bilioni 2 tukuje tuunganishe stima ya Garissa County. Hapa Garissa Town tunataka kujenga soko kubwa ya kusaidia kina mama mboga hapa. Wapitishe hiyo budget ndio tuweze kuja kujenga hiyo soko hapa, Wakenya wa hapa waishi sawa sawa.
All right, so you've had the sentiments from the president, but Gashuhi, when you hear that, and there is a comment that, you know, has largely also been out there, is that the young people who've come out perhaps haven't read the bill, they don't understand the bill, so they're just out there to be part of this uprising, this, to feel like they're part of it. Do you think that the young people have understood what are the contents of the bill and why they're rejecting it?
First of all, we forget, or at least people who make those sentiments forget that this is the most educated demographic. Young Kenyans are the most educated demographic, and I mean highly educated, including the Gen Zs. A lot of them are university graduates. So first of all, no, it's not about ignorance or illiteracy. Two, you can see from the conversations we're seeing across the board, online, offline, personal engagements, that these young people, we, the young people, have read this bill, are able to engage on every particular clause, section, article, whatnot, chapters, phases, all of that, schedules, whatever you want to call it, and properly engage and have insightful deliberations on those particular edits or whatever is published in that document. So to that end, I don't believe that young people have not read this bill. I don't believe that it's a matter of sensationalism and emotiveness, although generally there is an element of restlessness amongst young people due to, you know, the challenges that have been brought on by, I'd say, inadequacies by the government.
But when the Finance Committee went back after coming up with a report, they said, look, we listened to the people after engaging in the public participation process.
Yes.
These are the amendments we've made. We've removed the taxes that were removed. We have, you know, changed and made the changes that we needed to change.
Yes.
Do you think that captured the essence of what Kenyans really felt should, you know, happen?
No, and this is the second time we're seeing that. I remember we had a similar conversation last year around this same time on the finance bill.
Right.
People participate, Kenyans participate in terms of public participation, you know, at the county level, at the national level, directing their sentiments to the clerk of the National Assembly, the clerk of the Senate. But ultimately, including last year, they did the same thing. They'll put all these punitive measures and then say, oh yes, we've seen what you guys have written, so we're just going to remove this. We're just going to do away with a bit of this and a bit of that. But generally, it is very or overwhelmingly unsatisfactory in terms of engagements with the public and public participation and public sentiments. Yeah.
Oyamo, public participation, do you feel like the bill itself had really captured the essence of what Kenyans wanted and Kenyans felt should be changed? Because when the committee came back and they made that briefing from State House, they truly felt that this is good because we have removed the things that you people are, you know, complaining about.
I wonder at the end, or before they even do this, whether they have us at the back of their minds or they're just doing this to formally just say they have done public participation. Because what is public participation if when we are peacefully protesting for our rights, we are being tear gassed, we're being washed from head to toe. If you can't really even have a conversation with us about the things you struggle with, then do you even care about the things that you're saying you're doing? Because it kind of looks like a script. We were chatting about it, like it's like you have this very fast bill that you have, and so you have kind of highlighted the things that you want to remove. So the bread, hapa tukitoa kidogo, alafu you take all that thing and put it on fuel. So what are you doing? In essence.
All right. Yeah. And before I continue, I also want to get your thought on the level of police response to the protesters. 2 protesters are actually nursing injuries from gunshot, you know, wounds. And we saw the barrage of police officers that were there today in the CBD. We saw the tear gas canisters all around the CBD throughout the day. And of course, the water cannons, and people were tearing and coughing throughout. Do you think that was excessive?
I think it was. I personally had a friend, and she got hurt in all of that, and now she has to go through surgery. So she's in hospital today. And so thinking through that, and I am sure she never did anything to provoke anyone, besides just having a placard with her and saying that, sasa tusinyeshe, just that somebody comes and disrupts that and makes her life miserable for the next few months. I don't think that's right, in a sense.
Anita?
Okay, personally, I feel like as a nation, we need to realize that you need to realize when you're being manipulated and gaslit. I'm going to talk about what you said, they amended it. Amended it. There's stuff called decoys, guys. Like, if I wanted to manipulate you, I will tell you today, oh my God, please give me 300 million tomorrow. My parents are going through it. You give it to me and you're manipulated. That's how Kenyans are right now. They're telling us, oh, we had your cry. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Like, they had our cry, removed the stuff they had highlighted, and now our fuel prices are like, okay, you have a car, you get the pinch, right? I don't. Like, we need to realize when we are being gaslit as Kenyans. And that stuff about your friend, I'm really sorry about what happened to her. I'm sorry about what happened to everyone today. I don't understand why the police would be so brutal to young Kenyans, and we're just like, I'm pretty sure no one did anything. We're not being led by a political party, we're being led by our minds. We're not foolish anymore. Like, the veil has been, you know, lifted. So like Kenyans out here, I was here, I saw everyone, we gathered together, took pictures together, like just peaceful demonstrations. And now the police are everywhere. What's the need for that? We can conduct it on our own. If you're not here to protect us, please go home.
Oyamo, your thoughts on the same, but also I want to understand, as you guys go out, there have been concerns whether you are getting the support that you need, even from, you know, your parents, your guardians. You're fairly young, you know, your relatives, people who are around you. Do you feel you've gotten that particular support to say, you know what, dad, mom, uncle, whoever it is, I'm out on the street and I'm going to protest, I'm going to reject the finance bill because this is my right and this is what I want to do. Have you felt that support to say, okay, go and do this?
Okay, to begin with the police brutality, I think it's very punitive. At some point we were even playing football on the field and they started tear gassing us. At some point we got a speaker, we were dancing, and then they started tear gassing us. We're like, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with dancing and singing? So I think to the police, you should remember that you're serving the citizens and not Ruto. And that should stick in your minds. Yes, in terms of support, our own parents are still in the fear of the previous regimes. So they keep telling us, don't go, take care of yourself, you'll be shot. But then again in the streets, we have seen support from the businesses. People are giving us water to wash our faces and they're like, fight for us. People are offering milk to wash our faces. And that's supportive from even older people and giving up their businesses to support us. So I think the clouds are gathering and soon it will be raining.
Soon it will be raining.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Nyambura?
First, I'd like to deal with the question where you asked, where you said that some people really think that we do not go through the bill, we do not read the bill. First of all, I beg your finest pardon. I'm begging your finest pardon. Here's the bill. And I've had it since the weekend. I had my dad print it out for me. Thanks, Dad. I've been going through it and I've been educating my other friends who are not law students or who have not really interacted with anything legal in the past. And I think that they're understanding what I'm saying. There's levels to civil education and I've taken a personal initiative. And to be honest, the government can't act dumb about civil education because we saw COVID. We saw COVID. Everyone knew if I touch you, if I don't stay 6 feet away from you, I will die. I'll catch the COVID and I will pass, you know? So you can't act like you can't civil educate people. You can get to these people, and it's your responsibility as a government to make sure that whatever it is that you're trying to pass, all the laws that you're trying to impose on us, you have actually educated the people who can't understand first. So there's that. And then when it comes to the parents, I think the parents have they've just gotten to a point where we are just kind of like the new adults. And now we just feel like, thank you if we have your blessing, and if we don't, I think you'll see what our cause is in the future. And a lot of students who were protesting, their parents didn't know where they were, to be honest. They were like, okay, bye, enjoy school. And then in the evening, you're like, okay, hi, mom. So my eyes, I need to like have them checked because tear gas. So it's like, we're the new adults. It is what it is. We have to do what we have to do. And it's new life, new life.
All right. Amy, did you receive the support perhaps from your guardians, your parents, when you told them, by the way, did you tell them you're going to protest?
Yes, I did. From the word go, from the time I saw the finance bill and I went through it, and it was mentioned in one of my classes, and I was like, I'd want to see that because, anyway, so I told my parents at first, and they were not for it. They weren't. And I kept on mentioning it every day, that I'm going out there and I'm going to fight for myself and you guys, because the finance bill affects you more than it does for me. So the first day after I came back, I'd done a TikTok, and when I showed it to my parents, they were so impressed. And my mom was sending it out to her friends, and it was impressive that we had done that. We had come out and we'd gone back home safely. And now coming from Andamanos today, yesterday evening, my mom asked me, "Kesho pia unaenda?" And I was like, yes, I am. People are counting on me. People told me, you guys inspired us. We thought it would be scary, but you guys inspired us to come out today also. So for now,
and your response in terms of understanding the bill itself and the contents of the bill because of this large perception or wide perception, perhaps Gen Z's, lifestyle content, when you say I'm a content creator, perhaps just things that don't touch on hard politics, governance issues, that is changing?
Yeah, that is definitely changing, because if someone I know doesn't understand a section of the bill, they could come and watch a video of mine I've made about a section and I've explained it. So, or my friends, when I'm talking about the bill and I'm telling them, I'm going for Maandamano, and they're like, oh, you're going? And I'm like, yeah, the finance bill touches on this and this. So within the moment, even if you haven't read the bill, you'd be angered by what other people are saying. But yeah, we are going through the bill ourselves. We've seen it ourselves. We've understood what it says, and the parts that are vague, still trying to understand.
And Jim, now, just generally looking, would this be a signal that there's a shift in dynamics of the politics in the country, with now Gen Zs and younger millennials saying, we need to be part of this conversation. You need to involve us and you need to listen to us. And that's why we saw the thousands of young people out in the streets today. Is this a shift?
It's definitely a shift. So one is to demystify this myth that Gen Zs and millennials like myself, younger millennials like myself, have not been politically active. The people who've been demonstrating for Raila Odinga have been younger millennials and Gen Zs. It is the young people who've been showing up for Raila Odinga every time that he's out on the streets. Now, the reason why this time it is so obvious to everyone that this is young people is because you don't have a political figurehead to pin it down to. A lot of us might not have showed up when Raila Odinga would have made this call and said, guys, come out on the streets, because you think, we know you politicians, we know how selfish you all are. We know how you're using us. You know how you're taking advantage of our numbers and our energy, and ultimately you'll strike a deal and leave us out in the cold, okay? But this time it was self-organizing. And so that is the difference. That is why the game is changing, that the politician does not know what to do. There's no one to buy. Like if you get me today and pay me, alafu, mitakula do niende, because I don't even know why these people are showing up. I don't even know where they're coming. I don't even know their homes or their phone numbers. If you pay her, she'll do the same thing. So there's no one to pay. There's no one to make a deal with. Because the politics in this country has always been about dealing. We have dealers called leaders. They are constantly dealing, and they're dealing with our futures. They deal our money, they deal our taxes away, and that's why right now the president is saying, wapitishe ili tujenge barabara na stima, but he's not telling those people that they have increased the levy on road maintenance from 18 shillings to 25 shillings. And so, bei ya stima itaenda juu, because anytime you're paying for power, if you look at the breakdown of the monies, you're paying for road maintenance, you're paying for railway maintenance, you're paying for all these maintenances that now have been increased. So the cost of power is up, the cost of fuel is going up, and if the cost of fuel is up, then every other thing that we're paying, matatu kipanda wataongeza fare, every other thing will go up in the process. And he came into power saying that they will not they want to focus on production, right? And so they said, we will not do subsidies on consumption, we'll do subsidies on production. But power is production. Roads is production. We are production. And what this protest really is about is we have seen consistently a government that refuses to listen to its people. In the last finance bill, as Gashui was saying, we said we did not want the housing levy. We said it categorically. But the government insisted, we went to the courts, the government insisted, and now they have the housing levy. We told them we did not want the shift from NHIF to SHIF. They insisted to do it, they have shifted from NHIF to SHIF, and now they're taxing 2.7% of our gross income. We told them we did not want our police officers to go to Haiti. They insisted that our police officers will go to Haiti, and he went to the US to brag about how Kenyan police officers are going to Haiti. We told them time and again the things that we do not want them to do, and they have constantly refused to do it. And that's what we are telling them. It's not okay. What our parents have held as normal, it is not normal. These leaders are not demigods. They are our servants. They respond to us. And so the one thing that the president does not understand, and his cabinet, and we are seeing this cluelessness among all of them. When KJ says that this is vipindire and these things are doctored, when Duale says that we've not read the bill, because for a long time they've taken advantage of Kenyans because they don't do public participation and civic education like someone here said, and then they throw a 100-page document at you. No one has the time to read it. Our parents don't have the time to read it because they're trying to make a living, and then they get away with things, right? They hide it in the bill. But this time we have ChatGPT that is going to tell me what the finance bill is about. I have a TikTok content creator who's going to tell me what every section is about. So we know, Honorable Duale, what's in the bill, and that's why we are telling you and the whole bunch of clueless leaders around the president, please reject the bill. It is a simple, simple request that we are making. Smell the coffee.
Smell the coffee, and you're saying Godha?
Godha.
As we continue to Godha, so there was this whole thing of young people texting and calling members of parliament, and everyone was, you know, getting the phone numbers of our MPs. Yeah. What was that agenda behind? And I mean, do you think it perhaps yielded any fruits? Yeah, Anita.
Okay, personally, I feel like our parliament is full of people who think we are fools. We're not fools. As I've said before, the veil has been lifted. As he has said, you are under us. We're the ones, you're public servants, for Christ's sake, you're public servants, like you're there because we have employed you to be there. And to be very honest, as a content creator, I've put my life out there. As he said, tunatengeneza content ili mweze kuelewa what is inside the financial bill. So now, for the members of parliament, they tend to think that we don't know much about it, and that's why they think we are ignorant. And thus, we, as a country, we need to come out and act upon it. Okay, we need to come out and like tell everyone that we are aware of who we are, and like, as you said, everyone has your number. Ukikuja useme no, aya. Ulifanya nini juzi? Aya. Ukikuja useme hivi na hivi na hivi na hivi. I wanted to say that they are public servants, right?
All right.
So now, you're in the public. Hakuna mambo ya ati, oh, privacy yako ni nini. Ulielektiwa na we are holding you accountable. Hakuna haja ya kukuja useme ati, oh, you're invading my privacy, na unasema ati you wear tampons instead. Hey, jameni.
All right. Okay, Oyamo, let me hear from you on that particular matter. I mean, trying to get members of parliament to really reject the bill by sort of sending mass messages and also calling them. And then I'll ask, actually, let me just keep this question for that. But let me hear from you on that particular matter.
But that's okay.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, beg your pardon. Yes, Nzolo.
Yeah, I feel like, so the concept of Gen Z is that we have grown up to the reality of technology. So when guys were going out to, like, our parents, walikuwa wanaenda kufanya nini, like when they were young, they were doing these physical activities. So us growing up we were exposed to technology in a sense. So our reality, we have this entire world that we've built based on technology. So we've spent so much time on these gadgets until our life is there, in a sense. So that's basically what we live, in a sense. So so Twitter, we see like phone numbers from the members of parliament or anything. We are idle. We are jobless. And our leaders are lying to us. What are we going to do?
All right. Interestingly now, to just shift this a little bit, there is actually a shift. So protests predominantly led by men, right? So this time we've seen a surge of participation of young women like yourselves here in studio at the very forefront, fighting and protesting. Where did the drive come from, Gashuhi? I mean, this is really a very different kind of picture from what we've witnessed before.
First of all, let me begin by saying I was very thrilled. Unfortunately, I did not manage to attend two of the protests here in Nairobi due to other reasons. But I was very happy to see young women, both in Nairobi and other parts of the country, come out in droves and loudly lead the protest. I think one of the reasons why women were, charged enough to come out, we never see young women especially participate in matters governance. Maybe disinterest, fear, because there's a lot of intimidation and bullying in the political space. The issue of menstrual hygiene is very central to this conversation. When a legislator tells you, me any effect do, I use tampons. Another legislator says, both female, another legislator says, we're not taxing local products, we're only taxing international or foreign products, so, you guys need to calm down, yeah? Which is very wrong. For anyone, especially for the men who might not get this, let me just say this. Think of menstrual products as medication. Every woman responds to different products differently. So I might be responding to a particular, maybe locally produced product well, another lady will not react to it properly. So they probably need to get something that is, manufactured abroad and brought in for them. It's similar concept. But ultimately, when you touch on our menstrual hygiene, our biological function, which is not a choice, and then, impose levies, impose taxes on that, but then condoms are free for everyone, yet sex is a choice. That in itself was quite emotive, I believe, for a lot of women to come out. And
I mean, I remember the argument being that we are trying to promote local producers and manufacturers here in the country.
That's correct. But how many producers do we have, and can they really sustain the demand of physiological processes of Kenyan women?
Yeah. So that's another issue.
That's an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oyamo, let me get to you. A lot of young women were out in the streets today. That was different. Did you find that a bit interesting?
Yeah, sure. It was very interesting, and personally, I was thrilled. I was happy to see that, and I think it's something that should be emulated moving forward, even in vying for these positions. Let us see them vying for this position. Let us see them supporting each other, even in these vying.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's a good thing. It's something to be emulated in the future.
All right. Let me hear also from Nyambura and then Amy as well. You guys were there out in the streets today the whole day. You're here with us tonight. but it takes a lot. And I mean, it takes a lot of courage to also be out there because also of concerns of safety and all these things. But you are out there.
Yeah, I think even as I was growing up, I think from my year, from when I did class 8, we started to see a rise in more girls doing KCPE than men, boys, that is. And so I think over the years, we've been empowered and we've learnt our power and we want to exercise and we're no longer shy and we want to be bold and outside. And we just, this is how we were raised. This is how you raised us. Mm-hmm. Like, don't be mad because you raised us like this and then now we're executing it. Don't be pissed. Like, this is just the values you instilled in us. And it even makes it so much worse when you give us set books like Mr. Hikimea and Tumbo Lisiloshima and what Kigogo. And I'm like, nah, we read this stuff in high school. Like
we didn't have that one.
It's literally from the script. Are you lifting sentences? They're in your speech. Where's the creativity? Damn.
I'm like, where are my Otengano guys? You know, like, oh, you do? All right. Oh, yeah, Gashu. Yeah, Amy. I mean, yeah, so you're also out here, young girl.
So the question to ask yourself is, if I don't do it, who will? So I had to do it so that someone else who's in high school will see me and be like, next time, if I need to say something, I'll say it. Mm-hmm. So if I don't do it, if they don't do it, who will?
All right.
So we're empowering other younger women to know that they can do anything. They can protest and they can tell the government where they go wrong.
All right.
And where they require change.
All right. So very quick thoughts as we wind up this conversation. So finance bill heads to the third reading on Tuesday in Parliament, where they're going to vote close by close, and suddenly they will be voting it as a whole from the House Committee. Yes, House Committee. Yeah. So just final thoughts. So what happens? Where do we go from here once that happens? What if the finance bill actually passes? What's the next course of action? If you can just get like randomly thoughts. Let me begin with Nyambura.
I think we'll see what Article 1 of the Constitution means to the government. It says that the sovereign power belongs to the people and only that needs to be executed through the Constitution. And so we will see what it is that we have voted in and how they treat us, and we'll see that this was public participation. Like, who was participating in that public that the committee was talking about? You know, this is public participation, and we will see how much the Constitution means to you. And 2027, we will just not be sleeping. Wake me up at 3:30 a.m. I will be there.
You'll be out there.
I will be there with my finger up like this, with that ink.
As GK just said, we have seen what you guys have done. If you go and you pass the finance bill, we can't do anything about it. We've aired our issues to you guys. We've entrusted our lives to you guys. So if you want to pass it, well and good. But you guys remember, the same people who put you there are the same ones who are going to move you out of there.
Period.
Sisi ndo tuko sasa. Period.
Yes, I think first I'll begin with those who are sitting on the fence. Desmond Tutu says that if an elephant sits on the tail of a rat and then you say you are neutral, we definitely know on whose side you are. And these to those are MPs who are neutral. These to those are members of the public who are saying you are neutral. We know on whose side you are. And the ultimate, that's in the end goal, is to drive in their heads that we are the one who called the shots. If they pass the bill, we'll seek another step that we'll take. We can decide to go for the impeaching of MPs. Yeah, at the end of the goal, we have to drive in their heads that we are the one who called the shots and not them.
I think maybe Jim can tell us about that. Is that something that's possible to impeach a member of parliament? I think they're protected. You can recall a member of parliament.
But the IBC is not properly constituted, so that is still a big issue because we don't have anywhere to go to do the recall.
All right. Gashuhi, final thoughts?
One of these findings, the government will have to listen, one way or the other, whether they pass this bill or not, because of the punitive nature that life is going to be for each and every Kenyan within this country. The government will have to listen, one way or the other.
All right.
I'll leave it at that.
Nzolo, next course of action?
Tutazidi kutoka kwa streets. when we feel like we're being oppressed, and we'll keep doing it. Godha tena.
Godha tena.
All right, tutagodha badai tena. All right, yeah, let me get Amy and then Jim.
So what I think is if the bill passes or if it doesn't, we're still here to stay. We've started. The next time we see something we don't agree with, we'll still be on these streets. These same streets outside here. We'll be here to tell you what we think about it and how we would like you to change it. So yes, despite whatever might happen, we're here to stay. We're always watching.
All right. Thanks, Amy. Yes, Jim.
I think truth be told is we will keep organizing no matter what happens. And just to let you know, to the leaders who are saying that activism will never save our country, we will not dilute our collective anger to cater for your respectability. And the ones who are saying that we are sharing their numbers online, your oppression is not polite. Why is our resistance any different? That is part of our resistance.
All right. Yeah, yes, you wanted to say something quick?
To everyone who's at home and you feel like you're scared, do it scared. We did it scared. Yeah. Literally, sisi ni watoto, and we're here representing you guys. Simu yangu it's blowing up. Oh, Anini, what's the next point? What's the next point? The next point ni ukae hivi uangalie what's best for you. Ukituona nje, kuja nje. But it's a very peaceful demonstration. Hakuna mambo ya, you know, we're just coming here to air out our issues, and I hope to multiply. Thank you so much for everyone who turned up here. Asante.
Thank you so much, and I think that's a fantastic place to end it as we go. All right, and before we end up the broadcast, these protests have suddenly been like none seen in Kenya before, as Kenyans pulled together to offer help in one way or another, like we've had. In the Nairobi CBD, the Kenya Medical Pharmacists and Dentists Union volunteered 100 young doctors and nurses to offer free services to injured protesters. Armed with first aid supplies and 5 ambulances, the team set up camp at the Jamia Mosque to attend to patients in an operation so well planned, complete with a hotline service. The Nairobi County Government and the Kenya Red Cross also volunteered ambulances to assist, and by 6 p.m. at least 300 injured protesters had been attended to and 50 referred to various hospitals for further treatment. Let's listen to that report by Helen Aura.
In unity, they showed up in large numbers on the streets and made their presence known in their respective professions. This demonstration of solidarity stood in stark contrast to previous protests in the country. Doctors and nurses supported the protests by attending to the injured.
I was beaten. Just people are running, and I think I sprained my foot. They saw me limping and brought me here. So the services actually, because they are everywhere.
All of a sudden, they throw the tear gas on the crowd. So I was one of them who was affected, and it hit me on the head.
The vast majority of the medics who participated were young. Although they had the blessing of the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, they lacked the supplies needed, so they had to fundraise amongst themselves.
A lot of doctors have showed up, and we want to have this initiative. We want to have, anytime there are demonstrations, we want medics for Kenya to be around. Anytime there's any gathering, we want medics for Kenya to be around. Anytime there's any calamity or any disasters, we'll be having volunteer doctors.
We have a team of over 100 doctors just in Nairobi alone. Countrywide, we have around 2,000. We have 17 stations. We're able to mobilize around 5 ambulances in Nairobi and more in Kisumu and Mombasa.
Police brutality is not an easy thing because it took a long time for me to get ill, to get better in the hospital. So we are asking Kenyans that at this time, any support to ensure that anybody who is injured, we need to come together. Because at the end of the day, when the bill does not pass, every Kenyan will benefit.
We shall all enjoy.
We shall all enjoy.
For some, their injuries were too severe, like this gentleman who suffered a gunshot wound. These critical cases were rushed straight to public health facilities such as Mbagathi and the Kenyatta National Hospital.
A walk through this makeshift triage center by these young medics not only depicts their passion, unity, but selflessness to offer their support to their counterparts injured in the line of duty. The duty to protect future generations. Helen Aura, NTV.
All right, thanks Helen Haura for that report, and that certainly brings us to the end of our broadcast this evening on NTV Tonight. My name is Zainab Ismail. Once again, to just thank my panelists this evening, Gashuhi Kariuki, Jim India, Nzolo Mudhama, Oyamo Richard, Amy Oya, Anita Barasa, as well as Gladys Nyambura. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. On the sign language interpretation bit was David Agondoa. Good night as we...
Goza tena!